Guys, this Week 14 game against Denver, I'm not even surprised anymore. It's their 11th consecutive loss of the season, falling to a 2-11 record. And you know what's crazy? This is the 7th consecutive loss to the Broncos. 7 straight times we've lost to these guys. At this point, it feels like we're just showing up to get our butts kicked every time we face them. I'm taking this loss more positively than negative because finally, things are shifting in the Raiders' favor. Let me explain it to you. What's up, Raider Nation? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Raiders. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This channel is all about breaking down everything you need to know about the Raiders. So, looking at the final score, 24-17, you might think, okay, that's not terrible. It was competitive, right? The stats don't look absolutely catastrophic on paper. But when you dig into what actually happened during this game, you start to see all the cracks in this team. And trust me, there are a lot of cracks. The Broncos came out and established themselves early. Bo Nix orchestrated an impressive opening drive, 14 plays covering 81 yards that ate up nearly 9 minutes of clock. He capped it off with an 8-yard touchdown run. That's the kind of drive that just demoralizes the defense, you know? You're out there grinding, and they're just methodically marching down the field. We managed to answer back, though. Geno Smith looked decent on our opening drive, 10 plays for 70 yards, and he connected with Brock Bowers for a 15-yard touchdown. Bowers, man, he's been one of the few bright spots this entire miserable season. The second-year rookie tight end finished with 5 catches for 46 yards and that touchdown. Every time he touches the ball, you can see why we drafted him so high. But here's where things started falling apart. Second quarter, Marvin Mims takes a punt 48 yards to the house. Just like that, we're down 14-7, and you can feel the momentum completely shift. Our defense couldn't get off the field. The Broncos converted 7 of 12 third down attempts. 7 out of 12. That's 58%. You simply cannot win football games when you're letting the other team extend drives like that. And this isn't a new problem either. The week before against the Los Angeles Chargers, we allowed them to convert 12 of 17 third downs. 12 of 17. Our defense entering this game had the second most missed tackles in the entire National Football League. Second most. And yesterday, more of the same. Guys were whiffing on tackles left and right, giving up extra yards after the catch, extending drives that should have been dead. Bo Nix wasn't even that spectacular, honestly. He finished 31 of 38 for 212 yards. No passing touchdowns, no interceptions, but he didn't need to be spectacular because we couldn't get him off the field. The Broncos controlled time of possession 39 minutes to 21. That's almost a 2-to-1 ratio. Our offense barely touched the ball. Late in the fourth quarter, Geno Smith takes a hit and has to leave the game. And who comes in? Kenny Pickett. And honestly, Pickett looked pretty damn good in relief. He came in and immediately gave us some life. First play was incomplete on fourth down, but then his next drive, boom. He marches us right down the field and throws a 25-yard touchdown strike to Shedrick Jackson, the nephew of Bo Jackson. How cool is that connection right there? Geno finished 15 of 21 for 116 yards and a touchdown in 3 quarters. Kenny Pickett comes in for 1 quarter and puts up 8 of 11 for 97 yards and a touchdown. You do the math. The efficiency numbers aren't even close. Pickett was dynamic. He was making reads, going through progressions, putting the ball where it needed to be. That touchdown pass to Shedrick Jackson, beautiful throw under pressure. He stepped up in the pocket, avoided the rush, and delivered an absolute dart. I haven't seen a ball thrown with that kind of velocity from our quarterback position all season.
Jack Bech also had his best game as a pro. 6 targets, 6 catches, 50 yards. All 6 of those catches were clutch, moving the chains, keeping drives alive. I believe 2 of those catches came with Kenny Pickett as his quarterback. This is exactly what we need to be doing, getting these young receivers involved, seeing what they can do, building for next year. Tyler Lockett has been solid since we brought him in, 3 catches for 41 yards yesterday. But let's see what Bech can do. Let's see what Shedrick Jackson can do. These last 4 games should be about evaluation, not just going through the motions. But here's the big question that everyone's debating right now. Should Kenny Pickett be the starter going forward? And honestly, I think the answer is yes. Hear me out. We know what Geno Smith is at this point. He's a veteran backup who can manage a game if you have a great supporting cast. We don't have a great supporting cast. Our offensive line is atrocious. Geno is getting pressured constantly, and he doesn't have the mobility or arm strength to overcome that. Kenny Pickett, on the other hand, we don't really know what he is yet. He was a first-round pick back in 2022 by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, he struggled there and got written off as a bust, but you know what? A lot of quarterbacks have resurrected their careers after getting a fresh start. Look at Sam Darnold. Look at Baker Mayfield. Look at Daniel Jones before he tore his Achilles yesterday. These guys were all written off and found success elsewhere. We need to find out what we have in Kenny Pickett before we commit to drafting a quarterback. Because here's the thing, if Pickett can be even a league average starter, that changes everything for our draft strategy. We could use that high pick on offensive line help, which we desperately need, or a defensive playmaker, or we could trade back and accumulate more capital. But if we don't evaluate Pickett now, we're going into the offseason blind. And that's when you make mistakes. That's when you draft the wrong guy or waste resources in the wrong places. Now let's talk about the other major storyline from this weekend. With our loss and the Tennessee Titans beating the Cleveland Browns to get their second win of the season, we're now sitting at the number 2 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. And honestly, that's good news. The New York Giants currently hold the number 1 pick, and guess what? We play them in Week 17. If we lose that game and lose out the rest of the season, we'll have the number 1 overall pick. Looking at our remaining schedule, that's very possible. Next week, we go on the road to Philadelphia to face the Eagles. That's almost certainly a loss. Then we travel to Houston to play the Texans, another very likely loss. Then the Giants game, which is the only one where we have a real shot. But even then, they've got some talent. And finally, we close the season against the Kansas City Chiefs, who probably be fighting for playoff seeding. No chance we win that one. So best case scenario, we finish 3-17. Worst case, 2-15. And I know that sounds depressing, but hear me out. That number 1 overall pick opens up so many possibilities for this franchise. We're in a similar position to where we were last season. We had a shot at a top pick, and then we won a couple meaningless games down the stretch and fell all the way to 6th overall. That cost us a potential franchise-changing player. We can't make that mistake again. This team needs to embrace the tank. I don't care about pride or playing hard or any of that nonsense. We're 2-13. The season's over. Let's position ourselves for the future. Now, having that first overall pick doesn't necessarily mean we have to draft a quarterback. But the 2026 class has some interesting prospects. Fernando Mendoza from Indiana is the hottest name right now. There's also Ty Simpson and a couple other guys who could go early. But here's my thing. Even if you're not sold on any of these quarterbacks, you still want that number 1 pick because you have leverage. Teams that are quarterback needy will trade up. You can accumulate multiple first-round picks, extra seconds, build the roster that way. Plus, you get the first pick in every single round. That matters. That's a significant advantage when you're trying to rebuild a roster that has holes everywhere. But quarterback isn't even our biggest need, to be honest. Yeah, it's important, but we have more pressing issues. Our offensive line is an absolute disaster. We can't run the ball, we can't protect the quarterback. Colton Miller has missed time due to injury for the 3rd straight season. Our guard play is atrocious. We need to invest heavy resources into fixing that offensive line. You can't draft Fernando Mendoza or whoever and throw him behind this offensive line. He'll get killed. He'll develop bad habits. His career will be ruined before it starts. We saw what happened to David Carr in Houston. We saw what happened to other young quarterbacks who got thrown to the wolves. You need to build the infrastructure first. That's why evaluating Kenny Pickett these last 4 games is so crucial. If he shows us something, if he proves he can be a competent starter, then we can focus the entire draft on building around him. Offensive line, weapons, defense, we can actually build a complete roster instead of reaching for a quarterback who might not even be that good. The next 4 games need to be about evaluation. Play Kenny Pickett every snap. Get Jack Bech more involved. Give Shedrick Jackson more targets. See what these young guys can do. Don't worry about winning meaningless games. Worry about setting ourselves up for 2026 and beyond. Because that's what good organizations do. They're not afraid to bottom out if it means building something sustainable. The Lions did it. The Bengals did it. Even the Chiefs had some rough years before they figured it out. We're at a crossroads right now. We can either panic and make short-term decisions that set us back even further, or we can be strategic and build this thing the right way. I'm hoping we choose the latter. I'm hoping Mark Davis gives John Spytek the freedom to make the tough calls. Fire Pete Carroll if necessary. Move on from Geno Smith. Draft the right players. Hire the right coach. This franchise has been stuck in mediocrity for too long. We've been making desperate moves trying to shortcut the rebuild process. It never works. You can't skip steps. You have to do the hard work of building from the foundation up.